Hey, I'm really happy to welcome Marjorie Taylor Greene back to the podcast. Marjorie, I've been following along with Matt Gaetz and a couple of others. You went to the Deplorables Jail, and apparently you were obstructed, you were blocked. Talk about what you saw. Because you texted me and you said it's bad. And I want to know what you were able to see and then talk a little bit about what happened when you got there.
Right. Well, thank you so much. The reason why we went to the jail yesterday, it was actually just yesterday, on Thursday, is the same reason we went to the Department of Justice. We have been sending letters and asking questions, all kinds of questions around January 6th. One of our main questions is, why did Nancy Pelosi refuse to bring the National Guard to protect the Capitol on January 6th? And that is the question everyone is asking. So on Tuesday, we went to the Department of Justice, was completely denied entry. We had let them know we were coming ahead of time. They would not even let us in the lobby. So on Thursday, we went to the federal prison, which is here in Washington, D.C. And as members of Congress, we have oversight over the prison because we vote to fund the prison. We vote and make legislation that completely involves our federal prisons. That's what members of Congress do. Two of the people with us, or several, actually three, are members of judiciary or oversight committees, which have direct oversight over the federal prisons and the Department of Justice. So we were completely in our purview going there to both locations, Department of Justice and the prison here in Washington, D.C., where the January 6th detainees, some of them are being held. Now, we went because we heard horror stories coming out from family members and attorneys about the treatment of these defendants, the January 6th defendants who have been arrested, they've been charged, and they're waiting for their court date, and some of them are not being allowed out on bail. We've heard stories of solitary confinement. We've heard stories of beatings. We have heard just terrible stories, and we wanted to go there and ask questions about it, and we wanted to basically tour the jail and check the conditions. This is something that we do commonly as members of Congress. Just a couple of weeks ago, I went to a detention facility in California that houses illegal aliens, some of which are waiting for their amnesty claims, and some of them have been charged with committing crimes inside the United States, and they're waiting to be tried in court. Now, so this is a normal thing for us to do. And I can tell you, I'm so proud of the facility that I saw in California. The detention facility for illegal aliens was beautiful. It was immaculate. It was clean. It was well kept. And they had so many resources, legal resources, a library. They can talk to their attorneys anytime they want. They can go outside 24 hours a day. They have beautiful shower facilities, laundry facilities. They have a gym. They have a full-size basketball court and iPads. They can FaceTime with family and friends pretty much anytime they want. Great food and everything. So we're able to go in as members of Congress and make sure the American tax dollars are being used and spent wisely. So going to the federal prison here in Washington, D.C., we fully expected to go in like we normally do and tour a facility. Well, when we went into the door, we were met with a completely different environment. The lobby was filthy dirty. It was disorganized. It was not well kept. It didn't look anything like the very nice detention facility that I saw for illegal aliens just out in California a few weeks ago. But it was the attitude of the people that worked there that was even more concerning. They were defiant, they were arrogant, and they were obstinate. And what the woman told me when I walked in, and I walked right up to her and I was like, hi, introduced myself. We let you know we were coming. We're here to tour the detention facilities, and we have questions that we'd like to ask about the people that are detained here. Well, she told me that we were trespassing. It was myself, Congressman Matt Gaetz, Congressman Paul Gosar, and Congressman Louis Gohmert. And she told us we were trespassing. Then we talked to her a little bit more and she refused to answer questions. Then she went outside we were told by someone that the supervisor was outside. So we walked outside to talk to the supervisor, and they locked us out of this federal prison. They locked members of Congress out. We had a few members of the press with us, which, as you know, freedom of press is very important. They were completely denied being able to go in and show the public what's happening there as well. And so that was our experience here in Washington, D.C., while we were trying to find out information on the detainees for January 6th.
I mean, Marjorie, there's a lot of attention focused right now on Cuba and on the fact that in Cuba you have political prisoners, you have people in detention centers. It's a one-party state. There's really no oversight at all. Debbie tells me the same thing goes on in Venezuela. They'll announce, we're going to have a bond hearing for this guy, but who knows if the bond hearing will even take place. So ultimately, it's a very arbitrary system. Now, we always like to think that the United States is different, and we have even Republicans rallying to we stand with the people of Cuba. But aren't we seeing some alarming signs that some of these authoritarian habits seem to be imported into the United States, and it's with the consent and the wink-wink complicity of the Biden administration? Is that an overstatement, or am I simply describing what's going on?
Dinesh, you're hitting the nail on the head. It's almost an understatement. I would say, of course, I'll tell you my belief. I support the people of Cuba in overthrowing their communist dictatorship, but I am very much more focused on the American people that I feel that I serve, and we're having a communist dictatorship right here in Washington, D.C. No, you're absolutely right. This is a country where people are being canceled, and I never thought we would see this before. I'm sure you feel the same way. We're seeing the same type of behavior out of the current administration and the Democrat members of Congress that we see directly out of communist China, communist Cuba, and other communist countries where they don't care about certain portions of their society. They will cancel their voices, cancel their beliefs. And if they really don't like them, they will just make them disappear. And that is what they're trying to do with these January 6th defendants by completely just not allowing even members of Congress to go in and provide oversight on a federal prison.
Let me just ask you one more thing, Marjorie, and that is you've been in a little bit of a skirmish with Nancy Pelosi on the mask issue, and I noticed somewhat comically you call her Senator or Congresswoman Maskhole. Is that your name for her?
I call her Speaker Maskhole.
Speaker Maskhole. Yes. I like it. It gets my mind to put all kinds of words together. But anyway, you found out something very interesting about Pelosi, at least a report about it. Tell us what the latest is about Pelosi on the mask front.
Well, the word coming from Dem staffers is that Nancy Pelosi has a few members of her own staff that have just tested positive for COVID. But she has told them that they can keep coming into the office right here in the Capitol, and they can keep working even though they are COVID positive. Now, I want to tell you why we are all so outraged by that is because on Thursday, just yesterday, she went ahead and put out a statement, and she advised and actually she ordered Capitol Police to arrest any staff member or visitor into the Capitol that is not wearing a mask. Arrest them, which is so extreme. It's unbelievable. And then she said members of Congress will have to be turned in, and they can't arrest us because we're members of Congress, but we get turned in if we aren't wearing a mask. And so this is just an unbelievable abuse of power coming from Speaker Maskhole, Speaker Pelosi, and such a hypocrisy coming out of her as the queen of the House of Hypocrites, that she has members of her own staff that are COVID positive, and she has them coming in, going to work. And so, I've sued Nancy Pelosi. I'm suing her right now. We filed a federal lawsuit. That was Thomas Massey, Ralph Norman, and I. We are suing her because we went through an ethics hearing where our paychecks have been fined. We've been fined. And she can't do that. It's a violation of the 27th Amendment. It's also discrimination in the workplace. And we don't work for Nancy Pelosi. We work for the people of our district that voted for us. to represent them here in Congress. And so Nancy Pelosi is abusing power like never before. And it goes right along with what we're talking about with communist countries.
Great thing about you, Marjorie, is you're fighting on all fronts. Keep it up. And thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Dinesh. I'll see you soon.